We begin by discussing angles. So here you see three lines. Obviously, the angle between these two lines is smaller than the angle between these two lines. I mean, that's the intuitive notion that everyone knows. Usually, we indicate angles by drawing something like this. So there's an angle here between this line and that line, an angle between this line and that line, the red one here, and then there's an angle between these two. Usually, mathematicians would like to be able to put numbers on things, right? So how do we measure an angle? It's easy enough to measure length and things like that, but this is not a length, this is an angle. The first thing one can do is to put axes on. So now we have a scale and things like that. Then we can try drawing a circle here with radius 1. So what is the point with this circle? Oh, let's see what we can do with this circle. So I will zoom out quite a bit. I will explain to you in a bit why. Oh, that was too much. Like this maybe. Then I take the radius and I take it all the way up to here. So now we have a huge circle, right? And we have these three lines. This one, that one, and this one. And the angles are, of course, still the same. So what does this huge circle have to do with angles? Well, usually when you measure angles, you say it's 90 degrees or 45 degrees or whatever number of degrees, right? So the question is now, if you measure the circumference of this circle, how long is it? Well, how do you measure such a thing? Here you have the radius, right? To get the diameter, to get the diameter, you multiply by 2. So 2 times this is the diameter, and then to get the circumference of the circle, you multiply by pi, right? 3.14 something. So if you multiply this by 2 and by pi, what do you get? It turns out you get 360, okay? So the length of this circumference, or the length of this line from here to here, right, is 360, okay? So you could now start measuring the angle between these lines by measuring the length of this arc right here. And the angle between these two lines, this one and this one, by measuring this piece, right? So you could measure this, or you could measure this, right? Now, this is a huge circle, and this number down here seems rather arbitrary. So mathematicians, they like to have more canonical ways of doing this. So we go back to the circle with radius 1. Then I have to zoom in. Oh, that's the wrong direction. And then you get this, okay? So if you have the huge circle, what you measure will be the degree, the angle in degrees. When you measure it like this, you get what mathematicians call the radian angle. Then if this is 0.3 radians, then the angle is 0.3. A good thing about this is that if you have these two angles here, right, then you would like the sum of these two angles to be the angle between this line and that line, right? So the red piece here, and that works, right? So this seems to be a good definition of a good way of measuring angles. Okay, so that's the basic of angles.